Hello, going to introduce to you the personal narrative assignment. But first I have a joke for you. What does a vegetarian zombie eat? Grains. Okay. We have been developing the success criteria for this assignment, but what I'm going to do is just kind of introduce this this personal narrative assignment to you in a little more detail. Okay, exactly the things that you have to do. Okay, so it looks like this. What is a personal narrative? So a personal narrative tells the true story of something that happened to you. A good way to write your own personal narrative is to choose a story from your life to write about. That shouldn't be too hard. It could be a special memory with someone, okay, or an experience you will never forget. When choosing a topic, making connections is an excellent way to choose a topic and then develop your deeper ideas for writing. Okay? So, just like we have discovered by determining our success criteria for this assignment, you have to have these parts: the introduction, the body, and the conclusion. But we already know that it has to follow, your story has to follow this narrative text pattern with the beginning, the rising action, the climax, the falling action, and the resolution. So your story has to have these three parts: intro, body, conclusion, but it also has to follow that text pattern. That's the way you're going to organize it in addition to these three things here. Okay? So in the introduction, you, as you know, this is the first paragraph, okay? This is going to talk about the topic of your story, okay? So as you look down here, you can see, here's the introduction, okay? And it talks about the topic. In Japan, students take many school trips. School trips is the topic, right? Okay? Then, in the introduction, you got to add some supporting details which explain a little bit more about your topic, in this case, school trips. So, for example, usually children will take 2 trips each school year, one in the spring and the other during the autumn season. There are special trips, too, like graduation trips abroad or to places like Hokkaido and Okinawa. So those are a little bit more, those are supporting details about the main topic. So you're just introducing the topic. But your assignment is to write a personal narrative. So you have to write about an experience you've had, okay? Or perhaps a memory that you have, okay? So in the body, the middle of your story, it should be divided into 3 parts or 3 paragraphs, okay? Remember to use lots of adjectives in here and adverbs, okay? You can also use dialogue, okay? You're also going to use your transition words, your sequencing words to go from one event to the next, right? As you move through this rising action section, you can use your sequencing words to go from one event to the next, okay? So let's look at it here. First, you need to begin with some kind of a personal connection to the topic of the story. Okay? Then you're going to outline the characters and the setting of your story. Introduce the first conflict in your story. So we're all in here. Okay? And we're going to move up here. Okay? So let's look at it in this section here. Okay? A narrative about an experience you had. This must be connected with the main topic. So I made a connection here. One of these school trips was when I was in grade 4, and it was a trip to Ueno Zoo. So my topic is school trips, but I'm talking about a school trip that I had in grade 4. So when I decided my main topic here, school trips, I started brainstorming and making connections that I have to school trips. And I remembered my class trip when I was in grade 4, okay, to Ueno Zoo. Okay, so that's making a connection. You need to do that. After that, again, character, setting, and the first conflict. So let's have a look. Okay. Everyone was super excited because a new baby panda was born just a few weeks before. So we know the setting is Ueno Zoo. We've already discussed a lot of these things in the previous activity. Okay. We all brought our cameras and enough money to buy some panda rice crackers to take home. First, transition word, we got our tickets from the ticket window and passed through the gate. Then, as a class, we went to the panda exhibit, but just as we got there, there was an announcement over the loudspeaker. Visitors to Ueno Zoo cannot view the baby panda today, it said, and some apologetic zoo staff were bowing in front of the panda house. So you can see here, a little bit of dialogue is involved as well. With the quotation marks. You can see the quotation marks. That indicates dialogue or somebody speaking. Okay, so we have our characters, meaning everyone in the class, the setting, okay, Ueno Zoo, and the first conflict, we can't go watch the panda. Okay, so as you move up the rising action section, discuss that problem in more detail and say what happens next. Okay, and then what happens after that. Talk about the next conflict, okay? Remember, sequence these events with time order words or sequencing transition words, okay? Alright, so as you're growing in tension in the rising action section here, everyone was so disappointed, but we decided not to let it ruin our trip. After that, we decided to go see the tigers at the Tiger Forest exhibit. It was a popular attraction, so we all wanted to go there and take some photos. Just as we arrived, we saw a large crowd of people, very large. We waited for 15 minutes, but the crowd wasn't moving, so our teacher decided we should leave. Transition words here, and rising action. The next problem is appearing, okay? All right. Then the third paragraph should talk about the final or main conflict. Okay, so look down here. Okay, so the climax. What is the final tipping point of this story? Add rising action to make your story exciting. Give your story a climax, and this is where the action peaks. All right, so let's look at it. The climax is written here. After that, it was time for lunch. Some students brought their own lunches, and others brought money to buy something. Suddenly, a student ran to the teacher crying. She had lost her coin purse, and her train pass too. And then another student noticed that her camera was missing. The teacher told us that we couldn't go anywhere until the lost items were found. We waited for an hour, but nothing. And then it started again. Okay? Started to rain. So, at this point, we're at the top of the mountain here. Alright? And anything could happen. We have to determine what's going to happen next, okay, in the falling action or the conclusion section. This final paragraph of your story tells the outcome or the result of the event, okay, or the problem. Often you will see change in the characters after solving the main conflict. So the change in their personality, or maybe they calm down, or something like this. So you give a solution to the main conflict here and describe how the characters are feeling or what they are thinking. Ask yourself, have the characters changed since the problem was solved? So let's look. Are they happy? Are they sad? What's going on here? In the conclusion, finally it was time to go home. Everybody was tired and very disappointed. So we can see that this is the same as before, right? Just as we were about to say goodbye, our teacher suddenly said, "Class, today was not a good day. I'm very sorry so many things went wrong. So let's have a nice picnic in the park next week." Soon we were all smiling, for we realized our teacher was someone who cared about her students. Maybe today was not so bad after all? So in this case, the characters do change. Their mood changes, right? We were soon all smiling and they're happy. This is how you indicate a resolution of the problem, okay? They didn't get to see the pandas, but in the end, they got something because they get a picnic next time. Okay, so this is how you write a personal narrative. Use the planner, writing planner, to develop your ideas for that. This is the same as we did in Unit 1, okay, but just slightly smaller. Okay, here's a planner here for you to use. Please use this. Okay, write your draft point form in here. And here's a rubric. However, this is going to change because we've been developing the success criteria together. Okay? All right, good luck.